Hello there, YouTube. This is a Rogue Jam player coming at you with a Chimera deck profile. I've been waiting to build this deck. I've actually finally got the remaining cards for this deck to kind of, present to you guys. So let's get right into it. First things first, I like the whole concept of making a lot of Yugi's like old monsters and retraining them into their own decks, archetypes, and things like that. And then the illusion deck is just, it's kind of there. So let's start with the 3 copies of Gazelle, the King of Mythical Claws. This is probably the best card in the entire deck, mainly because when it's normal summoned or special summoned, you can add a level 5 Fiend or Chimera Fusion from deck to hand. But when it's used as material, you add an illusion from deck to hand, and it searches anything when it's used for fusion. So it's pretty cool. It's one of your main, materials, your main beast monster for your kind of like the various Phantom Beast stuff. And then we're playing 2 copies of Baphomet. You don't ever want to draw this card. You want to summon this card off of things like Mirror Sword Knight, because it's a +1 when you do. And then when it's used for material, you bring back an illusion from grave. So it always recurs a monster, so you always have advantage when you need it. And then for the Chimera fusion related stuff, we're playing 3 copies of the Mirror Sword Knight. This is the best card in the deck, or one of the best cards. It's just the ability to just summon this and say, I'm going to tribute to summon a Baphomet, and then you're going to get a +2 out of it. It's just kind of, it's kind of, relevant, because it always ensures that you always have access to your Gazelle or anything else. And then down the line, when we do get other like level 4 beast monsters that are actually relevant for the deck, you can use that as well. But it's really good. And then when it's in the graveyard, you can, as long as you have the one of the Chimera, the fusion, the extra deck monsters, you can basically negate a monster effect, which is pretty cool. And then we're playing 3 copies of Cornfield Codal. This card basically searches out Mirror Sword Knight, which is important because it ensures you always have access. So it basically turns into like multiple copies of anything that has Chimera Fusion in the text. And then when it's in the graveyard, you can when a card effect targets a card in the field, you can banish it. So it's pretty cool for that one random situation. So, and then we're playing 3 copies of Nightmare Apprentice. This is the kind of like the illusion search card. There might be cases where you could cut one of these, because really what's going to end up happening is you're going to use the Chimera or the Gazelle to search this out, and then you're going to use it to kind of recur into a monster for next turn. It's another body that can give you linked material and other things like that, so keep that in mind. So, and then for kind of like the one-of stuff, we're playing the one of the Diabels, the Sin Keeper. We're playing one of the Master Tau, and then the 1 copy of the House of Wax. These are kind of like one-of stuff. The Diabels, because it's a really good floodgate. Master Tau, because you send it off of the fusion and you can recur a monster off of it, so that's kind of cool. And then House of Wax is kind of there and to kind of keep you from dying. So, and then because of the way the deck operates, we are playing the Edge Imp, the Pfeiffer package, or Pfeiffer Patchwork combo, which is going to play 3 copies of Edge Imp Chain. You're not using its first effect, you're using the second, unless you absolutely need another monster, but what you're using its effect from when it's sent to graveyard to add a Pfeiffer card, which gives you Pfeiffer Patchwork, which automatically gives you another copy of Chain, and then a copy of Polymerization, which gives you more advantage. So it's really important to keep that going for as long as possible. We're then playing for the monster hand traps. We're playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, and then the 2 copies of Joel and Lockbird, because I have space for it. So, For spells, the first thing first is the 3 copies of Chimera Fusion. This card is really busted. So, what makes this card really good is it's not the it is a polymerization normally, but it's also a quick play. But what it does is you can add this card back to your hand to reset it. So the moment you get one of them, you're never going to use the second effect. In fact, you can't. Because you need to play the old Berfament and then the old Gazelle vanilla, so you'll always use the other effect. But what makes this card really important is the ability to reset itself. So you only ever need 1 copy, so you can actually resolve multiple fusions in 1 turn, just because of the way the deck operates. So, and then the 5 for Patchwork and the 2 copies of Poly. The main reason why this ratio is, the goal is not necessarily to use the Edge Imp Chain if you have to for this card. You actually want to go Patchwork into it and then use the Poly to kind of get you more monsters out. So it's just using sheer advantage to kind of outgrind your opponent is kind of what it does. And then we're playing 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity because why not? Because we have a lot of kind of like, not really super free space, but enough to kind of cause trouble. There's not a whole lot of good fusions outside of the Chimera stuff, unless you're playing the branded stuff, which I will be showing a variant later on down the line, because it is a little bit different. It behaves very differently down in terms of combo strengths and things like that, and how different the advantage engine works. So. And then we're playing the 1 Call by the Grave, and then the only traps we're playing are 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. There are other options you can play, or you can make the deck 45, 46. This is a 40 card deck currently. So, now for the extra deck. To start with, we are playing 1 copy of each of the Chimera related, like, fusions. We're playing 1 copy of the Chimera, 1 Berfament, and then the Illusion Beast. You're probably only going to ever need to resolve them each once. You might be tempted to play a second copy of one of them, but generally speaking, the main goal is to kind of go into Illusion Beast to kind of OTK. In fact, there's a lot of combos where you're going to go into this, and then other terms you're just making these 2. So. And then technically it's not a Chimera, but it is like it still technically is, and that is the 2 copies of Guardian Chimera. You're going to resolve this. This is really, really broken. Drawing cards, destroying cards, and then because you are playing Poly in this deck, it's just gonna keep, it's protected from being targeted by card effects, which is pretty cool, and it's a big body, which is important. We are then playing the 1 copy of Magnum the Reliever and the 1 copy of Garua. This is kind of just in here because Magnum Reliever is still another removal. It also recycles your fusion spells to draw a random card. Sometimes you can banish 1 to destroy a card, and then Garua is just kind of there because you can just kind of just beat over things. It also can do 3,000 if you do direct, and also it draws you a card. So, and then for links, we're playing the 1 IP, Nightmare Phoenix, Unicorn, Promethean Princess with Ambalo Whale. If you have access to it, you should play it. The access code, and then the 1 copy of the Underworld Goddess. Why not? There's a lot of free extra deck space, specifically. If you've got things like SP Little 9, the Fiend Smith stuff, you can play that if you'd like as well. I don't have access to that stuff currently, but make do what you got. This is a really cool deck. It's a concept that takes the old, Yu-Gi-Oh! Related stuff and makes it pretty good. Like, this is probably the best. It's one of the better variants of illusions so far that we have. I know that the new White Wood stuff has illusions in it, so there's other things going on. But as time goes on, we're going to get more monsters to work with it, and it's still kind of one of those, every time you get a new illusion card, you can tweak the deck a little bit. You can add more cards to it. It's not going to be clear cut as like say Sky Striker, where you're playing the same 30 cards and then every new card is just kind of garbage. There's always a random card that generally comes in. Like there's 4 or 5 one-ofs in here that just keep getting added in because they're that good. Not to mention the deck is really consistent in getting any illusion card because of the Nightmare Apprentice, because of the Gazelle. Just the deck's just hyper focus on this type of tri-type. So let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.